welcome to another video. This is episode 40 of the podcast, and before I get into all of the knitting and the crochet, I'd quickly like to talk about my hair because it's so different from how it usually looks. So a couple of days ago I decided to braid my hair. I haven't had anyone else do my hair for the past, I think, 10 years now, and it had been about 2 years since I braided my hair, and I've kind of put it off because it's, as you can imagine, a lot of work. I used to spend an entire day, sometimes even 2 days, braiding my hair, and often I would use extra hair, like those extensions that created this ombre effect from black to, for instance, red or gray or what did I have? Purple, stuff like that. A couple of days ago, I stumbled upon these wooden beads that I had, and I was just thinking, maybe I could just braid my hair with just only my hair and see how that works out. And yeah, I did that a couple of days ago, and this is the result. So I just did regular squarish braids, and the sides, though, I braided 2 cornrows here as well. And yeah, usually cornrows are done from front to back, but you also have them go from back to front sometimes, so that's what I did. This is the second time I've done this, and I think this is actually the first time that I've done it successfully, so I'm very happy with that. Yeah, so if anyone is actually interested in learning how to braid their own hair, I have one pro tip for you, and that is get a webcam. So that's basically how I did most of this. So usually what I do is I'll put a webcam on my chair, and then I'll open the webcam on my screen, my computer screen, so I can see what I'm doing at the back. So yeah, that's that's my pro tip on braiding your own hair. If you have any other questions about the braids, etc., you can leave those in the comment section below, and I would be very happy to answer them. Okay, so let's get into the knitting and the crocheting. This episode and the coming episodes are going to be quite heavy on crochet, just because crochet garments are really nice for summer. I found I really enjoy creating lace with crochet, and I've done so much digging with vintage patterns that I found a good couple of ones that I want to try out for this summer. So there's that. So let's start off with the first piece, and I showed this in the last episode, but now it's actually done. Ta-da! Yes, it's the crochet waistcoat! And I'm so happy with how it looks. Oh my gosh, I am so happy with it. It just looks so bright and happy. But yeah, let's get into all of the specifications. So the pattern that I used is called sirdar number 5181, the crochet waistcoat, and I'm just going to run through all of the specs for anyone who hasn't seen the last episode or has forgotten. So the original pattern asked for a bulky weight yarn, 100% wool, but I didn't want to do that. I decided to go for 100% cotton. I used Drops Paris, which is an Aran weight yarn, 75 meters per 50 grams. And the colors that I used were number 39, which is the light green wasabi, number 43 bosgroen, forest green, and number 14 geel, yellow. yeah, and I used a 5mm hook, which worked out for me. So yeah, what did I do in terms of modifications? So actually, this had a peplum at the bottom, but I didn't really want that, so I just I just crocheted the top and left it at that actually, and just did a single crochet at the bottom. So the construction is pretty neat, very straightforward. So you actually start off with 3 granny squares here at the back. So 3 separate granny squares. And so one of them you make 4 squares tall. So the nice thing about this pattern is actually you you join on the 3rd row of the square. So you've made 1 square, and then the 3rd row you slip stitch the squares you slip stitch the squares together. So you do 4 here for the back, and then the center back, and then you make 8 for the sides. And so you have 3 strips, 2 long ones, 1 short one, and then you use this shell motif, if you can see it here, just basically the granny square stitch. So you use this shell motif to attach the square strips together. So you crochet 1 shell row and then the other one, and you attach them with slip stitches. And yeah, once you've done that, one thing, I think I also mentioned this in the last episode, what I think is so cool, you actually do some waist shaping here. So you crochet a first set of shell rows, and then you slip stitch only the last 3 shells, and after that you add another row of shells, and that creates this gusset here at the sides. Yeah, also the same is done at the other side. And then you just make a couple of shell rows at the front, and yeah, then you just single crochet the armholes and all around the waistcoat. And then once you're done with that, you make a cord. So I made I don't know how I would call it. It's just I just took a number of some yarn, and okay, so I took some of the main color yarn and then I twisted it with a pencil. So once I finished that, I let it twist in on itself, and then I got this really nice cord. I have filmed the entire process, so there will be a video of this as well. So I feel like there's something else I wanted to say. Yeah. So I think that I had actually finished doing all the crochet work the last episode, and I only really needed to weave things in. And that wasn't really all that hard. It took me maybe 2 or 3 hours, I think, because I didn't weave anything in beforehand. And I think I actually quite like this process of just having a lot of ends to weave in at the end, because there is, for instance, this one sweater that I've been working on for quite some time. I think it's called the flower motif pullover. I kind of reversed engineered it. It's a Japanese pattern, but it was sold as a kit, and I didn't want to spend, I think, like 120 euros, something like that, because of shipping and all of that. I didn't want to spend all that money on one pullover, so I just looked at the description, I looked carefully at the pictures, and kind of figured out how to make it. So the pattern is just granny squares, and then you knit the ribbing for the sleeves, the neck hole. Yeah, for just all the borders are knit. And so basically how I was doing this was that I was crocheting the squares, the granny squares, and then I was weaving everything in, and I felt that that kind of slowed me down. So I think I'm just going to crochet all the squares and then seam everything and then weave in all of the ends. And hopefully I will be done with that sooner rather than later. Then moving on to the next thing that I crocheted, and it's this headband. Ta-da! So this is from a Japanese crochet book. The pattern itself is called Hana Motifu Tsunagi no Hairband. So flower motif hairband. Yeah, so attached flowers, I think you could say. Headband. Yeah. The book itself is called Shumatsu de Ameru Kagibari Ami, Ichinichi de Kantan Kamikazari. So crochet in the weekend. Hair accessories you can crochet in one day. And I actually did crochet this in one day. So the book is from the Apple Mint series, and I believe this is one of their older ones, because the older ones they actually have online, they digitize them, and you can just get them online. So it was pretty easy for me to get it. I didn't need to wait for them to ship it all the way to the Netherlands. So I'll leave a link to the website. So the recommended yarn for this pattern is Olympic Linen Natural. It's a Japanese yarn, 54% linen and 46% cotton, and the yardage is 130 meters per 50 grams, and they recommended using a Japanese size 4/0 crochet hook, which basically is a 2.5 millimeter crochet hook. And when I was in Japan, I actually bought a ton of crochet hooks at Daiso, which is kind of like their dollar store, the Action of Japan, or the Dollar Tree of Japan. I don't know if Dollar Tree is actually an American store, but in my mind it is. But yeah, I obviously didn't really have access to that yarn, so I went for Drops Bell instead. Number, I don't know which color actually this is. No, yes, I do. It's sand, and I think the number is 3, but I'm not too sure. I will put it on the screen if it was incorrect. But yeah, Drops Bell is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen, and the yardage is 120 meters per 50 grams, so also a DK weight yarn. Yes, so let me tell you a bit about the construction. So you actually just start off with this flower motif square. So the first row you do a bunch of double crochets, and then the second row you do so as well. Wait, no, the first row is actually single crochet, a couple of single crochets here for the center, and then you do a couple of double crochets. The third row you do double crochets as well, and then the fourth row you turn the, how would I say it, the structure of the motif from circular to square. So you do this using some single crochet and chains. And so once you've had your first square, you then work on your second square, and you do the first, second, and third row as normal. But then the fourth row, similar to the crochet waistcoat, you actually use slip stitches to attach the second motif to the first. And so you keep on doing that. The pattern itself said to crochet 7 flowers, but I crocheted 7 no, 6. I crocheted 6 because my flowers turned out to be a bit bigger than the pattern recommended. And actually, once you've done this, you're supposed to do another row of a bunch of chains around it as well. But I felt that the hairband was already wide enough. So I left it at that, and then I did some single crochet. Yeah, here I crocheted a sort of, how would I call it, zandloper. I don't know the English word for it, but I crocheted a zandloper. Oh, an hourglass. Yeah, I crocheted an hourglass, and so I flipped it over. This is also in the pattern, and then I whip stitched it together. And the pattern actually tells you to use some elastic to thread it through, and then you can just easily pop it on. But I just made another cord similar to the crochet waistcoat. Yeah, so I can put it on, show you how it fits. I haven't really yet decided on how to style it, so there's that. Oh. This is actually the second cord that I made for this hairband, because the first one was too short, and this one's pretty short as well, but not too short, if that makes any sense. There goes my shoulder. So I don't know how I would like my how would I say it, my braids to be. I think I would like all of the front pieces right here and make it lay a bit flatter, I guess. Yeah. I think I am going to make another cord and make it even longer. So I could make perhaps a bow tie or something like that at the back, because now I don't think that that's really possible. Yeah. Don't know if I'm showing it well to you. Yeah, so I just thought this would be something fun and cute to wear. Yeah, so I've actually been looking for more of these types of hairbands, and they're a bit hard to find, but something that I've realized is actually they have a lot of free bookmark tutorials, and if you make them just slightly longer, these bookmarkers, you can just wear them as headbands. So that is the epiphany that I had today, and I think I'm going to look on the internet again tonight and see if I can find any that pique my interest, so to speak. But yeah, this was a fun and cute project, and I enjoyed making it. Moving on, I unfortunately want to talk about my shoulder issues again. Oh gosh. So I had no pain for about 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden I had a flare up again, and I just remember someone commenting saying you should go to a doctor, and for some reason that hadn't popped up in my mind, and that's because when I was younger I used to get a lot of injuries because I used to play tennis at a highly competitive level, and I'm also very clumsy. So for instance, I would be taking off my jogging pants and I would twist my ankle. Those types of shenanigans. And so I used to go to the physiotherapist a lot, and they often just said, you just have to do some stretch and strength exercises, and I think I've just not been doing the right ones for my shoulder. If I'm being honest, I don't think that my shoulder is the real issue. I think it's my back. I don't really feel the issues with my back, but sometimes I'll get a back massage, and once I get touched on my back, it's just pain and soreness. And I think it's just that my back is quite weak, and so my shoulder is compensating for that. And I think also there's some issues with my neck as well. But yeah, I did in fact call the GP, and I'm going to see them in 2 days. So yeah, I think it should be finally solved after that visit. I'm hoping. I have been doing different stretches, and actually the pain has become less, so that's good to know. So but yeah, so just wanted to say that I'm actively trying to fix this issue, because pain is never great to have. Okay, moving on, I would like to talk about the only thing that I have knit in the past week or so, and that is this top right here, which is, as you can see, far from done. So how did I start off with this? I was looking on Ravelry, as I often do, and I found this pattern called the Sandrine top by Gregoria Fibers, and yeah, it was just a DK weight yarn summer top inspired by, I believe, the 60s or the 70s. So, right up my alley. And I was really interested in the pattern. However, when I started reading the description of the pattern, I found that it wasn't really going to suit my needs. So yeah, let me just tell you about that top in particular. So the construction is top down. Yeah, it's top down, and so you cast on in the round and you knit the motif of the top, which is a number of stockinette rows, and then you also have a number of moss stitch or seed stitch rows, and you knit all the way down, you do some ribbing, and then you pick up stitches at the top, and then you knit the ribbing that is at the top, and then also the straps. So yeah, it's kind of a straightforward modern pattern. The thing is that I wanted the look of the design, but I didn't want to do the construction, just because I now have my own preferences when it comes to construction, and I also wanted to make it using fingering weight yarn. And so looking at the flat lay, I saw that there was no shaping, and I figured it would be pretty straightforward to just give this a go by myself. So that's what I've kind of done. I actually just started off with a tubular cast on. This is the second time I'm doing this. I did this for the Norma sweater as well, and I really liked the way it looked. So I knit the front and the back separately, and I actually have seamed it just to see how it would fit. Yeah, so I just kind of winged it. I did a number of 1x1 rib rows, did some stockinette, did some moss, did some stockinette, did some moss, did some stockinette, did some moss. And yeah, I only actually have 100 grams of this yarn, so I figured I would first look at the fit, and then once I knew that the fit was fine, I would start working on the straps, which I plan on doing some double knitting for. I thought of doing half of the straps on the front side, then casting off and doing the other half on the back, and then seaming at the top so that there's some more security for the straps. Yeah, and so my plan is to do that first, then have all of that sorted, and then I can just knit downwards until I run out of yarn. So here's also a swatch. This is some hand-dyed yarn that I got from Japan when I was in Japan. The yarn is from Big Little Yarn Co. And yeah, it's called Hanami. The base is organic wool, linen, fingering weight yarn. So it's 70% wool, 30% linen. It's a 3-ply, like I said, fingering weight with a yardage of 466 meters per 100 grams. And I just stumbled upon it when I was cleaning out my stash, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to make something out of you this summer. So that's what I'm doing. This is what I have left still. I am also going to use my swatch as well, and I just want to use up all of the yarn. So hopefully I'll be able to make something that is, I think, moderately long. So this is already 40 grams. I have 60 grams left. I don't know how heavy the straps are going to be. It's going to be double knitting, but I don't think I have to worry too much about that. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I do have to say, I really like working with this yarn. It feels really nice. I really like how well the yarn works with this stitch pattern. There's enough stockinette to really make the yarn shine, so to speak. You can really see the colors come out, and you have this intrigue of moss or seed stitch, which is cool. So very happy with this so far. Then lastly, I would like to talk about a tiny project that I just randomly started today because I was a bit bored. This is another sirdar pattern. This is also from the 60s. It's sirdar 2297, and this pattern consists of 3 different hats, all crochet. So I personally think that model A and C look a bit silly because it makes their heads look twice as big, twice as long. Model B, I felt looked really cute and dainty, so that's the one that I have been crocheting. So the pattern recommends a number of sirdar yarns. You have Gaiety, nylon 4-ply, majestic 4-ply, Talisman 4-ply, and Fontaine crepe wool, and all of these are fingering weight yarns, and all of them are discontinued. So I had to find something similar, and I just looked at the bag of yarn that I had lying around, and I found this woolen yarn that I bought in Japan from Itobatake. So this one is called sucre wool. The color is Ichigo Miriku, so strawberry milk, and yeah, it's between, I guess, a sport and a fingering weight. It's 340 meters per 50 grams, and I think I already mentioned that it was 100% wool. As for the crochet hook that I'm using, I am using a number 5/0 Japanese, 3.0 millimeters. This was also the recommended hook for this hat. The only problem is I wasn't able to make a swatch for this because the swatch that the gauge that they give in the pattern states 2 pattern to 2.75 inches measured over the 11th round. So how am I supposed to make a gauge swatch without crocheting 11 rows? I'm at row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I haven't even gotten to the place where I'm supposed to measure it. And the pattern also gives one size. They said for a normal sized head or average sized head. I think they said normal because it made me kind of go like, huh? But yeah, so I guess this is going to be a full-blown swatch. I'm just going to crochet everything and see how it works out, because in total there are 21 rows and I can just kind of plop it onto my head and see if it looks like anything. Yeah, so what else I have to say about this? About the design, I think it's pretty cute. I think it looks very dainty. I was crocheting this actually when I was talking to my sister, and she saw that I was making something and she asked, oh, what are you making? And I said I was making a summer hat, and so I showed her the picture of the pattern. She was actually quite confused because she felt like this hat wouldn't really do anything for me in the summer, which is correct, but I told her something like, sometimes we just do something for the look. It's for the look, baby. So that's what I'm doing it for. And since I braided my hair, a bit of my scalp is quite exposed, so even having this tiny piece of wool slapped to the back of my head might do something to to protect the skin there. But this hasn't gone without feel, I have to say, crocheting this so far, because I actually thought that model B was model C. So I crocheted about 12 rows of model C before I realized that it wasn't really looking like model B. So I had to take all of that out. So this is kind of my second attempt, and it's looking pretty nice. The first couple of rows weren't really hard. Also, these rows aren't hard either. Aren't these rows this row at the moment isn't that hard. So it's just a bunch of double crochets and chains. The first couple of rows, maybe I can show you the right side. The first couple of rows are just double crochets for the most part, and then you have a couple of chains where multiple double crochets go into. So yeah, that, and I think now we're really starting to see the motif that is at the front, because now the double crochets are getting grouped here, and we're seeing also this wavy motion, because before it was completely round, I believe. Yep. So I think that's everything with regards to this crochet hat. It's just fun to make. I'm enjoying the process. Then lastly, a tiny update on the crochet swimwear saga. I have yet to actually start crocheting or knitting swimwear. I have been playing around with a couple of gauges, and I've still been looking at materials and stuff, and I made a breakthrough. I don't know if I spoke about this last episode, but I was looking for some chemicals that make materials waterproof, and I looked on bol.com, kind of like the Dutch, how would I say it, maybe a Dutch Amazon, and it was really expensive finding this type of liquid. But then for some reason I just stumbled upon Kruidvat. Kruidvat is our drugstore, our main drugstore chain, and I found this for $2.50, I believe. So all I really have to do is put a bowl of water and just put this in, and yeah, leave the clothes in for about 15 minutes, wash it off, and then it should be waterproof. So for some reason this gave me a lot of courage or motivation that this experiment might be more successful than I had initially thought it would be. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last episode, but I am planning on making a separate video talking about my game plan with swimwear, knitted and crocheted swimwear. So there's that. It's all looking really promising. I'm very excited. I also don't have a lot of time before I leave. So we're just gonna see how far I get. So I think that is everything for today. It's a bit of a shorter episode, I believe, but I just wanted to get this out of my system and kind of move on. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye bye.